Okay, hey everybody. This is a video talking about how to make like a fancy movie. I'm gonna post this video and post all my scripts. It's almost certainly going to be the case that when people use the scripts, they have hiccups along the way because of platform differences or something like that. I'll try to point out the stuff that I've run into. Unfortunately, my health is not improving, so I now have a fever, and I'm going to be counting on all of you to be assisting each other. So anything that has to do with how to use these scripts and this infrastructure, just please post to Piazza and try to crowdsource with each other, because that's not. I think it's interesting to look at this stuff, but I'm not eager to have someone spend tens of hours getting derailed in this infrastructure. So let me describe some of the elements of this. Well, actually, let me just show the movie first. So here's a movie, and um, I had to encode it with a really bad encoder. FFmpeg stopped working for me, and that's part of the reason this took me too long. Hopefully FFmpeg will work for you all. But if not, there's a backup that comes with Visit. So here's my movie, and it says Hank's Great Movie, and then here's a fade, and it says effect number 1, isosurfacing, and then here is an animation visit of effect number 1, and then a fade into another title slide, and then a fade into another effect, and actually it pauses at the end. So that's my movie. And so what I'd like to do is show you how, and by the way, there's something weird going on with my movie player and the MPEG encoder. You see it says there's 26 seconds, but the progress bar is it halfway through with 24 seconds. So what are the elements that made this movie? So the first thing is I got into PowerPoint and I made some slides that said Hank's Great Movie, effect number 1, and effect number 2. And by the way, my first attempt at this, the slides were black and white, and it turns out black and white causes a special problem, and so that's why I went and made it red. Now, it's critical that the image size from your PowerPoint matches the image size from whatever you're saving from, presumably Visit. And so in Visit, the default is 1024 by 1024. And so I needed my PowerPoint to be 1024 by 1024 as well. And so I went to Page Setup, and I set it so that this was a square, 10 inches by 10 inches. And then when I said File and Export, I said that I wanted it to be a PNG, and it actually lets me set the width and the height. And so I very intentionally chose it to be the same size as the images that Visit was generating. If all of your images are not the same size, this will not work. And I chose the option to save every slide, and I click Export. And then, here it says, do you want to replace? I'm going to say cancel. But what it did then is it made in a subdirectory. So my PowerPoint was called titles.pptx, and it put this in a subdirectory called titles. And here are 3 images that look just like my PowerPoint. Now, the other piece I did in terms of generating imagery is I made 2 visit scripts, effect 1 and effect 2, and then I ran these scripts, and they saved out with very special names. So I put them in a directory called frames, and I gave them the name effect 1 and then %04D, and so that would expand to 0000 and then 0001 and so on. And so then when I ran this, it put all these images in the frames directory, and with effect2.py, when I ran this, it put it again in the frames directory with the stem of effect2. So if I go and I look in the frames directory, then I've got a bunch of images for effect 1 and a bunch of images for effect 2. Okay, so now here's the key thing. I made a script, and the script was called make links. And I'm going to just skip over these functions for now. And, well, I guess I'll just say there are 3 functions: pause, animate, and blend. And so here is me calling pause, animate, and blend. So let me just bring this, let's see. And so then if I open, where's our movie again? Links, and then so here's our movie, and so let me put our script up side by side. And so I call at the beginning pause and say, well, what do I want to pause? Well, here's the format for pause. It's a function. It's a shell script function. What do I want to pause? I want to pause this image called titles slide1.png, and I want to do it for 90 images. And so again, 30 frames a second, and so that would be for 3 seconds. So then if I play, the first 3 seconds is just that image. Now we get into a blend. And so you can see the blend just happened, and that's because I said I wanted to blend the title slide 1 with the title slide 2 for 30 frames. And then this will hang here on the screen, and the reason why it hangs, you have to press play, is because I added another pause for title slide 2. Then I'm going to call blend between title slide 2 and the very first image of my effect. And so here I've called it effect1000.png. You'll see that the formats for my functions, the arguments for the functions are not very consistent. But for a blend, you give it the entire image name. And so now when I click play, we can see it blend to effect1000.png. I probably should have put something here where I then paused frames effect1000.png, because by the time it was done blending, it started going right away. Here, let's just look at that again. See, it blends and off it's going. And it'd probably be nice if I would have put a pause there, which I didn't do. Whoops. And so then here's our third function, which is animate. And so animate takes just a stem, frames effect1, and in my naming convention I said effect1 underscore. And it says there's 100 images. And so that's what's then making all of these images right here. And then I added another blend from the last frame effect10099 to the title slide, 30 images blending between, another pause, another blend to the first image of effect 2, and then again I forgot another pause in here, I animate and I pause. So that's how this scheme works, is you can just add, you make your title slides, you make your effects, and then you call some combination of pause and blend and animate. Now, I wanted to use visits MPEG to encode, which depends on ppm files, and so I called this function convert to ppm. Okay, and so at the end of this, when I run make links, then in a directory called links, it has made 679 images, and it made them all as PNGs, and then it made ppms for me, because that's what the MPEG to encode expects. And then I went to this param.params file, and I'll post a link to it, and I had to modify a few things. First off, I had to give it the path of where the images are. So a path and then a stem L%04D, and that's because these are L, and then this is %04D. If you're not familiar with the %04D, just look up some printf stuff and you'll get it. And then if you search this file for change this is the number of frames. I changed that to 679. This is the width and the height, width, height, and so I changed each of those to be 1024. And then I was able to run this because Visit had MPEG to encode installed, and I ran it and I gave it MPEG to encode, this params file, and called it to make something called out.mpeg. Now, my own belief is this MPEG to encode is not a very good encoder. I used it because I don't feel very well, and I just wanted to get something posted for you all. And if you want to use it, that's great. You're going to get some MPEGs that look kind of bad. If you can get FFmpeg to work or another encoder to work, that's super. I think that you guys are going to be making your effects, and then if you use my PowerPoint trick, you can make extra title slides, and then it comes down to this make links script. And so you'll start with my make links with pause and animate and blend, and then you'll put your own stuff in here, right? Your stuff goes here, and and you'll build up. Again, you're going to build up this links directory that has all your stuff in it. And then you'll encode it with FFmpeg or MPEG to encode or anything. Now, I would really encourage you to path all this through one time and make sure it works. So, don't just make a movie using this path. Do an animation, do a blend, do a pause, and just see that you can make a movie. Because what I see with you all is you like to say, oh, here's a little spot that's interesting, go really deep there and really deep here and really deep here. And at the end, you try to put it all together, and sometimes it doesn't work. So you're not doing a good job mitigating risk unless you kind of look at the whole thing end to end and confirm that it works. So I'm going to post all this stuff, the params, the make links. I'll post my scripts. I'll post my PowerPoint. And then you guys will just have something you can work with. I do want to comment that my make links commands, this is all fine. This is just using shell script stuff. And the animate is all fine. But if you want to use a blend, the blend involves something called the net PGM tools. And so this is a command line tool that's available in Unix and Mac. And it can do conversion, and it can do, here it's calling PPM mix, and so that's how it's fading between two images. Maybe you don't want to deal with net PGM. So in that case, you'd probably skip blend, or you'd find some other way to blend your images. But hopefully there's a framework here that you can work with. Also, this convert to PPM also, again, depends on net PGM. Okay. Realistically, my temperature has gone up all day, and so I'm really not sure if I'm going to be online tomorrow. As you have questions, I encourage you to post them to Piazza and be answering each other's questions and trying to support each other using this framework if you want to use this framework. But certainly it's fine with me if you post lots of how do I do this and how do I do that within this framework, and I'm not going to be upset about that or consider it cheating. I'm happy for you all to help each other, especially because I don't think I'll be able to. So good luck, everyone, and look forward to seeing your movies.